set out to do this show, more than anything, it was an opportunity to bring you diverse perspectives in life and business. So often the two blend together, and we often lose perspective about our past and how it continues to shape us and serve us on our journey. In this show, we are constantly defining success through the lives of our guests. I ask this again, what really is success? What makes the hustle more of an adventure than a grind? Well, among many of the insights you're about to hear, our guest today defines success as a careful combination of art, science, and luck. Well put. In just 5 years, Naveen Krishnamurthy has taken his current company, Riva Solutions, from $6 million in revenue to $63 million. He's done this with a company culture that inspires employees to achieve unimaginable personal and professional development while focused on results and accountability. Naveen is known to be a disruptive thinker. Through social media, he shares an ongoing real-time vision with his team, demanding and inspiring actions that better government. His leadership style has earned him opportunities to work on high-profile federal programs, to speak on executive panels, support nonprofit boards, mentor small businesses, and earn many industry accolades, most notably the prestigious Fed 100. After earning a triple degree and master's in business administration, Naveen established himself in Silicon Valley during the dot-com era. He then spent the next 20 years navigating large business federal contracting, working for industry giants like Booz Allen and CACI International. So with that, let me introduce my esteemed guest, Naveen Krishnamurthy. Naveen, you're here in the flesh. It's happening. Glad you invited me, Reba. And my nickname for you, of course, Reba Magic. Reba Magic. Oh, I like that. Yes, that's going to be my official middle name now. Naveen, seriously, I know you're busy. You're highly admired in our industry. I just want to speak with you openly about the things that I know. I mean, I've known you for 14 years, but there are many out there, and we joke about this, who come up to me and say, oh, do you know Naveen? Do you know Naveen? It's like you've kind of become this figure over the last 14 years of knowing you. It's quite admirable. So I just want to have some honest chat with you on your perspectives of this journey. So let me start by asking you my first question. What was the most surprising thing that you learned about success? And if you could please share both the pleasant and the unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, first off, that introduction was entertaining because I was like, who's she talking about?
You didn't realize it was you.
Yeah. So it was really nice. But honestly ties to what you're asking me. Success, what is the measurement of success, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people talk about that. Is that a lot of people define that by industry awards, number of employees, revenue. Right. I think one of the things, office space, yeah, the size of your house, even, right? Tying back to our culture. How many square foot do you have?
Exactly. Oh, I don't know.
I think that's really one of the biggest things. To me, it's not those things. I think it's the journey to find your happiness, what really connects for you, really where do you derive passion, where are you waking up on a Monday thinking it's like a Friday and you're excited to do what you're doing. So I think, one of the biggest things that, I found on this journey to success is really finding the real path of, it isn't about achieving all these goals and metrics and numbers. It's really finding who you are and what you really want out of life. And I think that's the journey that we're on. And I think for me, a lot of that was finding that internally.
Wasn't it hard for you though? Because we were raised that way. Metrics. Just like you said, right. What boxes did you check?
It's the brainwashing, the parental brainwashing, societal brainwashing, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right? We're programmed to, be a certain way, achieve a certain goal. I'm already in trouble out of the gate. I'm not an engineer, lawyer, doctor. doctor. Right? My dad like disowned me after that.
My dad too.
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't become a doctor.
Yeah,
You're
so
out.
I'm a failure, but so yeah, that's true measure of success is when my dad says that I'm successful. I'm still waiting for that.
You'll get it. You're getting
Yeah.
close. You're getting close.
Yeah. But it is a very difficult journey. I don't think it ever stops. The question is, are you having the introspection to seek those answers, or versus thinking you know them? And I think you have to break away from the monotony and the grind and say, I have to keep reevaluating myself on what is the measure of success.
So, Naveen, based on how you measure success, which, by the way, is a very wise definition of success, what about the unpleasantries? Tell me about what you didn't expect on this journey.
I think one of the unpleasantries is when you're on the journey, you meet a lot of people along the way, and you build a lot of strong relationships, but sometimes those are just parts of your journey. They're not going to be the people that are there in 5 years or 10 years. They're just like parts of the journey, and they leave an impacting impression.
Okay.
And you also appreciate the hard work. But I didn't, you think you're in it and you're going to be with these people forever. And I think that through the journey, you're the constant, but other people might change. And I didn't anticipate that. You might have a core, but that amount of change is tough, especially for me. I'm a people person,
right?
And I like relationships. We've known each other 14 years. It's a constant.
Yes.
So to be in a company and that changing, that's a difficult one. I think another one is, there's the cliches around, the cousins come out of the woodworks and people start to come. I mean,
I'm so curious about that.
Oh, I mean, the amount of phishing emails and Naveen has contacted you to buy 22 Amazon gift cards or something like that. It's pretty rampant where people look at that, fame or, just the notoriety, and they're like, how do I get a little bit on that ride, and I want to be a part of it. How can I get a piece of it? And so the amount of people that kind of give that to me.
You kind of had to shed a little bit.
Yeah, you kind of have to be a little bit unavailable, which is weird, because then when you're on the path, you're like, I'm never going to be that guy.
Yes!
And then you go,
yes.
Okay.
Now I get it.
I think you have to create some filters around you. So that was a bit surprising.
Was it immediately, could you immediately tell who that person was? Or was it kind of was it immediately apparent to you that, this is somebody trying to glom on to, they're approaching me differently because of my success now?
No, you know me, I take every meeting.
I know. I don't know how you do it, by the way.
I'm like, I'd love to meet you and learn about your story. And I think I take something away, of course, every time. So that's why I love it. And then I think then people started saying, you're getting taken advantage of. And
other people have to warn you.
But what I didn't realize is taking advantage isn't just monetary, right, or financial. It's also your time, right? Because time becomes your most valuable asset, tied to balancing work life. And then every hour or every minute, you have an opportunity cost to do something else. So that's where you start to go, I need to be a little bit judicious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to take the random meetings here and there, but I have to really be conscious that means I'm going to probably let something slip somewhere else.
Exactly.
So I got to create that balance. And that's not just in work, that's in work and life.
You've done an amazing job. It's interesting. I feel like I'm just approaching that and starting to realize that as well, because I'm the same way. I want to take every meeting, be with people, but it's that trade-off. Yeah. I'd like to ask you a personal question, and that is, those of us who have known you for a while know that you went through a divorce, and this was a difficult time in your life. I'm just curious to know, did it impact you? And if so, how did it impact you, for better or for worse?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people I did 9 years of service to my country, just kidding. But, divorce is impacting me twice in my life, right? Okay. My parents got divorced at the age of 12, and I'm an only child. So mark number one, impact, impressionable years.
And it's a little unusual for our community. And when I say our community, I mean traditional Indian families growing up. It happens more so now, but I think at that time
you were ostracized from the community.
Your parents
were
divorced?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Being an only child makes it harder, but it creates the fortitude and the self-reflection that you have to do everything on your own. You're in it. You got to look out for yourself at an early age. It makes you stronger.
You grow up faster, probably.
You grow up faster, and then to double down and have that happen again, right after 9 years of marriage, it's very impactful. You think you're on these milestones, 2.5 kids and a picket fence, and you're doing all the things in the blueprint of life,
checking all the boxes.
And then you go, wait a minute, I have to start all over? What, how is that going to be something that I planned in my life, and am I going to be able to recover from that? So I think that going through that, one of the biggest things I said to myself was, I think statistically 90% or higher of people get married or again in the first year, and I said I'm not going to do anything in the first 2 years except refine myself.
Oh, nice.
And just not a lot of people have a time to look at their paths of life and say, let me reassess and straighten my course. And so that's kind of how I took it.
Gosh, that's amazing. For successful people who tend to be on a trajectory, and I imagine you feel this way too, failures hurt so much. I mean, I think failures hurt everybody, but they particularly hurt when you are maybe not so accustomed to them, and you're used to being that straight A student, you're used to being that winner, the champion. So did you regard the divorce as a failure on your part, or a failure in general?
I think that's the flash reaction, right?
Okay.
I failed, as a product of divorce, I didn't ever want to be divorced, so I failed. I think the other side of that, right, being an entrepreneur, is you go, failure is good. You learn from failure, you grow from failure, you break eggs to make an omelet, and so I am somebody who leans in. I mean, people sit on the sidelines and they don't do things.
Oh. So true.
And they're kind of so worried about taking a chance and taking risks. So I think if you have the opportunity to fail fast, fail hard, and learn and grow, then I think that's awesome. And that's kind of the view I took it, where, okay, I failed, but I'm just going to rebuild and go bigger. And that was like a mindset I said, where I would actually say to myself, I will not fail. And I would say that to myself. You look in the mirror, your affirmations in the morning, things like that. And so that I kind of drew a passion around that misstep in my life. But I also looked at it as, wow, I learned a lot.
Yes.
And I have 2 wonderful kids to show from it. So to me, net, I've grown, and now this sets me up to kind of get to the next milestone, which I don't know if I would have if I didn't get that push.
Exactly. And it's funny, I'll share with you a quick story of what happened this morning to me. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why this is the East Coast hustle. I really believe that hustlers, quote unquote, we're cut from a different cloth. We're just designed differently, And everything that you just said resonates so well. So very quickly, last night got chewed out by a customer very publicly in a very public forum, which is very rare. Like, that just doesn't happen. I usually nail it. I give a presentation, I nail it. It's always like, oh, it was wonderful. You did a great job. But it was a very humbling moment. And then, of course, this morning, I was feeling blue about it. And I said, I'm going to give myself one day to feel blue. That's it. I texted my husband. I was like, I'm sad today. It's an unusual feeling for me, but I'm going to give myself one day to feel sad. But then this morning, Uber ride to the airport, the Uber driver's tire pops on the highway. Yeah. Like, quickly get to this Burger King and let me now get another Uber to get to the airport. Hopefully I don't miss my flight. But long story short, as I'm at the airport, I say to myself, I'm like, you know what? You know how you can react to this? You're going to go back 3 times as hard, overwhelm them with how wonderful the service can be, and then maybe we'll increase the price at renewal time.
Find the opportunity. Right? Yeah.
Sweet, the nice revenge, the best revenge is success, right?
Well, some people call failure quicksand. That it's very easy that you think you can come up with some quick way and solution out of it. Yeah. And then you end up just sinking even deeper. So taking that one day and saying like, no, I'm going to come back stronger.
Right.
I think that's where you kind of push way past and springboard versus kind of getting into the quagmire of I just keep sinking in the quicksand.
Exactly. And I had that brief moment in the airport. I'm like, you are a hustler, Reba. This isn't just what you said.
Yeah.
There were so many ways you could have taken that experience, but you took it a totally different direction because that's the fabric of which you are made.
Well, it also speaks to being a bit of Teflon and, having a bit of thick skin.
Yes.
And saying, I'm not going to let this drive into some insecurities that cripple me.
Exactly.
That I can't make an action. So if you can persevere past that and not let it get to that place, you just end up becoming stronger from it.
And I'm just going to share this little tidbit of spirituality because it almost brought a tear to my eye this morning. So I'm going through all this, and as I'm in the TSA line going through security, and I made that determination that I'm going to come back swinging 3 times as hard. Like, watch out, I look up, and this gentleman is wearing a T-shirt. And on the back of his T-shirt, it says, "I will not be shaken." And it was Psalm, I don't remember the exact verse, but it's from the Bible. And I'm like, thank you. Thanks, Angel. I appreciate that little vote of confidence.
Were you on time to the airport? Or were you like your standard 15 minutes late? Like,
hey, I've come a long way, my friend. No, I actually was. That's why I could go to the Burger King and get another Uber and be early. All right, back on track. So, Naveen, we love our jobs so much, don't we? So often our families and our spouses kind of feel like they're number 2. Then there's this cycle of guilt that you go through. You're like, is my job my mistress? I love it so much. Desire is measured in effort, right? And wherever you're spending your time is where your heart really is. So it's that constant tug of war and, like I said, that cycle of guilt. I'd like to know your perspectives on this. Are we wrong to have so much passion for our careers? I mean, our kids are growing up. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And the second part of that question is, do you believe that there are times where a spouse or a partner might actually be holding us back from success? Might be a little bit of a controversial question, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
First part is, are you wrong to want to focus on your career at the cost that you might be sacrificing some aspect of your personal life? I think, it trends back to balance. I think one of the unique attributes is owning a business, though. I think that when you own a business, I had an executive coach tell me and a former boss say, so many of us try to separate our life in personal and work, and we almost have 2 personas.
2 buckets.
And I think the advice I got was try to integrate the 2, and it'll make you better at both. And I think like when you can start to integrate, I think then you get more support, there's more of a give and take. It, obviously it depends also on the individuals, right? My marriage, when I was married, I didn't really feel that support. That was a little bit divisive. Being an entrepreneur, you're building a house, you have a second kid, and hey, why are you taking a cut in salary to start this company?
Right. That's hard.
That's very difficult, right?
But it's a real question, but it's hard.
But now I'm looking forward, going, I thought like the hardest part was over. Now I feel like I'm also equally busy now in a different scale.
Okay.
Right? And now I have a partner who's very supportive, respectful, appreciative, and I almost feel like twice as much energy to be able to accomplish what I need to do.
Right.
And she's supportive in that.
That's wonderful.
So I think it's kind of double, right? It's the integration and it's the individuals.
Yes.
But you can't, you compare it to a mistress, it's not cheating, it's inclusion. And so how can you bring that person to the fold so they understand your responsibilities and vice versa, you get theirs.
Right.
So that way you're able to build that communicative relationship.
I think that's brilliant advice. I really do. I love that. I've never heard it put that way. That you're absolutely right. Why call it the reason is the mistress term, it's that conflict. Yeah. But if you actually bring both together, you're twice as energized and you remove guilt from the equation. as a mom, and I know you as a father, I do that a lot with the children too. Make them a part of it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what are your ideas? I'm going to do the social media thing. What do you guys think? And it's like you said, you blend those two buckets, and everyone gets to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I can nail down a meeting I need,
Yeah.
but I can't make a dentist appointment for the life of me, right? I'm so good at work in some things, and I'm terrible in my personal life. I mean, my car service light has been going off for like 6 months.
Health checkups?
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
right?
yeah.
So why are we so good over here? Not so. It's we're all just wired differently, and we just have to find that integration, I think.
I so agree. You touched on this a little bit with your initial response, but after achieving so much success, do you sometimes find that you attract the envy of old friends or even current ones? And if yes, how do you deal with that envy?
Yeah, I mean, some people call it haterade. And,
Haterade. I haven't heard that one yet.
I think there's definitely, we live in a society where sometimes we measure ourselves by looking at the other individual, and you're like, there's one-upmanship.
Yes.
And things like that. And, that's just I think when it comes down to it, why do some people do that? We don't know their own insecurities that cause them to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm fortunate. I don't really care as much about what people think. Mm-hmm. What's important is what close people to me think, and what I think about myself.
Right.
Right. So, and that's part of looking at your own demons and where your insecurities lie and attacking that. But I think that with moderate success comes visibility, and I think it really eats at a lot of people. People develop a God complex. They develop hubris.
Yes.
They think they are better than other people, and I think that's the part where you have to really, drink. You can't drink your own Kool-Aid. Have a bit of humble pie. Think about how you're going to give back to the community. Think about your roots of where you come from. How you can give back to people who are embarking on the same path as you, going back to taking too many meetings and mentoring and helping other small business owners. But I think you have to do that full circle, and then it kind of comes back into a karmic energy where, if you have the evil eye or people that are looking at you in that way, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be there. But for yourself, you're doing the right thing and you're a good person. And ultimately that just creates a positive energy around you.
That's such a strong way to look at it. That's very good advice. Yeah, because it's hard. As much as people say, I don't care what people think. I think I personally still struggle with that a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way, and somebody's feeling envious.
You can't make everyone happy.
You can't.
You can't.
Why should you have to go about? And I don't know if it's a female versus a male trait, but self-deprecating humor or ways to deflect envy. Is that necessary? Because you're saying, hey, if you know yourself and you're behaving from a strong, ethical place, there's nothing really
I mean,
to be concerned with.
I was going through this award nomination, and you have to talk about not the company but yourself.
Yeah.
So they were like, you have to keep saying I, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I say we and the team and stuff. But yeah, I do think you're right. I think we're kind of conditioned that if you do say me, and people don't take it the right way, and they think you're arrogant and you're egotistic. So you got to find that right balance.
So if we can go back for a second, Naveen, to the divorce question, everybody talks about business failures, successes, etc. Could you elaborate more on what that failure was to you, how deep the impact was? Because, you're Naveen Krishnamurthy. It's hard to think of you and failure in the same sentence. But if you could shed some light on what you went through.
Yeah, I mean, I think you build your coffers, you look at, all the areas, security and business ventures, real estate. I did all of the above, and, was doing fantastic, but, going through the marriage and, post legal fees, dividing the territory and property, kind of really forced me all the way to reset to like I was back in college, And
Really?
Part of that was to say, hey, maybe I should move back home with my parents for a while.
No.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I mean, this is when I was about 40 years old.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
So I hadn't lived with my parents since I was 18.
Oh.
So like
can't even
I
imagine.
arrive at my parents' house with some bags, and they're like, "Who are you again? Like, where are you staying?"
But also like the ego blow.
Yeah.
The ego blow
Oh, it's
must
huge.
have hurt.
It's devastating. And not only that, in legal fees, they've got such a fantastic way for legal folks to make a lot of money profiting on the process.
Yeah.
So I'm borrowing money from my friends.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't know this.
So I'm not even. I'm in the negative hawk, right, at this point, living at home.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to see my kids. And,
painful.
you're at rock bottom. And so it really is, I don't know, no other way you could, they always talk about hitting rock bottom. I think that's the definition of rock bottom. And I think to do it at that age, you really start to go,
Did I just take 10 steps back,
well, is there even light at the end of the tunnel? How can I persevere? This is impossible. I mean, Reba, that was 7 years ago, right?
Was it really?
7 years ago. So, that's the part where you almost come out of it, if you can, like just a springboard, and you just skyrocket. It's stronger than I've ever been in my entire life, because I hit that rock bottom that you become so strong, you're like a superhero, where you're like, nothing can affect me now.
Yeah, because you're kind of like, what could be worse?
And I have no risks here at this point. What else can I lose?
Yeah.
So it really makes you unbeatable in any goal you try to do, because now you've just thrown caution to the wind, and you're like, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go for it with no encumbrances.
Ooh.
And that's kind of how I viewed it 7 years ago.
That's remarkable, Naveen. Hats off to you. That is such an inspiring story. So I want to switch gears here for a second, because I think this is the thing that many of us around the Beltway want to know from you. And you and I have talked about this, but the M&A market space here in federal government is white hot right now. White hot. And you've got this growing 8A certified government contracting firm. You're a smart guy, you know a lot of people, and I like to compare it to you doing a PhD thesis on the subject of what do I do, at graduation, or what do I do as far as exit strategies. But I like to term it, Naveen's playbook. So there are many, you've been very generous in mentoring small businesses and sharing some tips. Could you walk us through, how much would you be willing to walk us through here of this playbook? What is the recipe, Naveen?
Well, I think it's different for everybody, right? And our industry keeps changing. I did a lot of research on it, but I mean, to me, one of the biggest things I took away from all the research and watching our industry is, I think, I really focus on people. It isn't, just the industry. It isn't what we do. It isn't who we serve as a mission. It was for me to say people are our greatest asset, and so going all in with our greatest asset. Making our bringing in a mascot.
That's really cute.
Which is an alpaca.
Yeah.
Right? And, sitting there and probably giving way more benefits than any CFO should allow me to do, and pay through the nose, really getting to know my employees one-on-one and connecting with them, being considerate of their personal, lives and their career paths, and doing that in the DNA over 12 years, and translating that as you scale to nearly 600 employees today. I think that's the part that there is no cultural checklist. There's just people that care about people. And, when you start to do that, things start to cascade.
Okay.
Because then you start to go, okay, now my employees are happy, my customers are happy. Now my employees are happy, they're working harder, and there's more quality. And now I'm going in and doing more exciting things, strategic work that I want to be in with the customers I want to serve. And you start to get into this M&A equation of our GovCon industry,
right,
which is a little bit of a game, right?
Okay.
You want to build a company, but at the same time they're saying, hey, if you're not small, you're dead in the water. You have to sell or buy. That's pretty much the equation, and most people end up selling. So you start to think about that and go, I have to figure out how I'm going to buck this trend and get past these plateaus and milestones that is statistically it's a probability that this will happen to me. And I just said, I'm going to do it through the people and through the culture as the nucleus to try to buck all these trends and not take on PE money, not do the things that other people did. Yeah, let me just continue the organic bet on myself. And I think that
and your team.
That really helped translate you through the small business kind of milestones.
But when I hear you say that, it's kind of like I can hear everybody kind of shrugging their shoulders saying, oh man, this is not a quick, easy thing. No. This was a slow burn over 12 years. It's just like, I don't know what the saying, it's the famous quote by Michael Jordan. People ask him, well, how did you become successful? They think it's like this overnight thing, but it was thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of practice. It was a slow burn. It wasn't an overnight situation. So your answer is the people. That's pretty fascinating.
And I think it's the nucleus that, the first 6 years, we just got to 0 to 6 million in revenue. Small team. It's that grind, hustle, and nucleus that translated into the next 6 years when we went from 6 to 62 million.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? Yeah. Because we carried it over and it just became a runaway train.
Okay.
It wasn't like I have to implement this and create this. Of course, you have to do so many different things organizationally, but if you already have the core nucleus and you could build on it, it just explodes at that point. So I wasn't sitting here going, I'm going to throw people at the problem. I'm going to try to fix everything because nothing's working. I was just like, let me just keep building on what we've already done and then and enable it. Now that I have the money to do so, I can tack that laundry list to be able to do things I couldn't do before.
I just have to pause here for a moment. I just cannot fathom that 7 years ago, you were sitting in your parents' house with your bags. Hi, Mom and Dad. 7 years later, you're sitting here at this table with 600 employees, $63 million business. You shared about hitting rock bottom, but how does this happen in 7 years?
Yeah, I think about that every day. I think it would probably be easy to throw in the towel. I think about those steps coming down from my parents' house into the kitchen in the morning and my mom going, can I make you breakfast? And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
And you're like, where am I right now? What is going on?
This is so surreal. Is this a bad dream?
I'm like, where's that coffee maker? And she goes, oh, we don't drink coffee here.
Oh, great. Even better.
Yeah. So, you're definitely, I think one of the biggest things that I think that kind of helped me was I talked about finding yourself. You talk about my love of travel, right? I hit probably about 40 countries in 4 years.
Wow.
When I didn't have my kids, just would head over to Dulles Airport.
By yourself?
Sometimes with friends, tour group, partner, by myself. I would look up at that screen and it's kind of called travel roulette. And I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to go to that country.
Just like a movie. You just picked one.
I went from the Galapagos Islands to Iceland to Budapest, to different parts of Spain, and honestly, doing that, I kind of brought myself back. I said, food, culture, religion, architecture, feed the soul, find who I am, and coming back when I wasn't on those trips, being able to be a better parent than I've ever been before.
Wow.
There, aware, in the situation, connecting with my kids.
Yes.
Parenting on my terms, right? Which is a whole other topic, right?
That's so interesting. Yes.
And it just nourished me. And it brought me back. So then when I kind of let that dust settle and I kind of go, oh yeah, I own this company. and I've got something to do here, you come back laser focused, looking at your goals and saying, it isn't about pouring in 80 hours a week or anything like that. It's just clarity. It's like the fog lifted and you go, I know exactly what to do. It's all very clear.
Yes.
There's no distraction.
Yes.
And my mind is in a good place and I'm going to get there. And I think I just sat there and did it and did it and did it. And I didn't let any outside distractions or noise get in my way. And it was just a steamroll of energy that I'm going to go for it.
Amazing. So Naveen, post-COVID, where we are politically and economically right now, do you have any tips that you can share regarding attracting talent? How has it changed the dynamic?
Oh, everything has changed, right? I mean, whether you look at the political environment, you look at other factors, Black Lives Matter affected us, COVID. The book a long time ago, The World is Flat. Somebody go give that guy a prize, right?
Yeah, I guess he knew what he was talking about.
Technology is becoming not just prevalent in our society, but in the way we do work today. So I think embracing and leaning in, to me, it was coming back to the roots of like my early days in Silicon Valley, during the .com era. Ping pongs, flip flops, work from, working virtual. A lot of us, Gen Xers, we did that in our 20s. So it was like me going, well, we did that in our 20s. Why can't we bring back some of the same principles? So the informality, being able to work from anywhere, we just packaged it and said Riva Flex. You want to work from home, you want to work in the office, you want to do a little bit of both, you want to move to another geographic area, you want to hop in your RV and go to the, across the country. If you got Wi-Fi, you know your goals, we don't care.
As long as you're getting your job done.
Yeah, and it's been unbelievable because this day and age, I mean, you take a look at the cost of living in DC and the expenses, and looking at your life balance goals. Now people are able to travel, live somewhere else. It opens us up. We can hire people elsewhere, and that's okay too, which we were prohibited before. So now we're like having fun with it because we've opened up a whole
pool, right?
and not only that, we're finding new ways to connect to our employees that you don't feel like the mothership of corporate is like, I don't know who those people are. Through whether it's Zoom or Teams or Slack, and having different ways of creating touch points in person versus virtual. I think we're finding new ways to connect to our employees. On Slack, our favorite channel is Fur Babies. And honestly, I'm envious every day going, I don't have a pet. I just have 2 kids, man. Like these people are having so much fun on Fur Babies, and it's the most popular channel.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's so
and so you got people talking about what books they want to read, what places they want to travel, their home workout regimens. And so going back to your point about infusing personal and work, we're kind of doing that.
You're practicing what you preach,
and people are connecting, and I think that even looking at Riva Veterans, and as a channel, I think everybody has found a way to connect through online means, and then they're going, this is a company, well, some people right now are saying, come back to work. We're saying, no, I kind of joke, I go, no, we don't want you back, right? I mean, I'm kidding, tongue in cheek here, but it's kind of like, no, do whatever you want. We don't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's really effective because people are going, that's the company I want to work for, because they're going to allow me to have that, flexibility.
Right.
But they're also going to embrace me as an employee on my career path and looking at how I have fun in my journey working at this company.
I think that's brilliant. And I think you used a very important word when you were describing that. Package. You packaged it because every employer kind of had to do that. Okay, you can work from home, but there may have been like a begrudging tone to it. You leaned into it and you packaged it, and sold it in a manner that was very attractive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think with everything, you have to take that step of if you are going to do those things, reinforce it with the policies and the gotchas, with transparency, because as soon as you're deemed non-transparent, the trust is gone. And so
Interesting.
our view is we're just going to tell you everything so that way there is no
good, the bad, and the
ambiguity.
ugly.
Yeah.
No, very nice. I'd like to ask you, what is it that we need to know about money? What is it? It's something that you didn't know before. Because people don't like to talk about money. It's kind of like a taboo topic. But what do we need to know?
Well, I think once for me, reestablishing my coffers, and now you start to think about these goals. The number one thing people ask you is, what's your number? If you exit and things like that. But
yes,
I think the funniest thing to me about money is access, right?
Okay.
Growing up in a middle-aged family and then going through this part of hitting rock bottom only to now achieve this moderate success that I look at it going, I keep getting invited to free events all the time. I mean...
No, okay, so this is the thing. I know what you're about to say. It's like when you don't need the money, it comes pouring at you, right? It's the rule of the universe.
It's like golf tournaments and steak dinners.
Yeah,
and
like I can actually afford a ticket now.
Nat Stadium and boxing. I'm like, I don't have to pay for anything. Like,
right.
I think that's one of the funny things that comes with success.
The paradox.
Is that you start getting invited to all these things. But I think the other part of it is it's very clear if you have money, you can make more money. And I think that it's interesting to figure out what is that inflection point where you can put your money back into play. Obviously, it ties to your risk profile. But if you put your money back into play, the ability for you to just transcend to the next level, I don't think is that difficult.
That's
once
really
you have once you hit a certain level.
Yeah, because I can imagine people who would say, "Oh, I have money. Let me quickly pack it into the bank savings account and just let it grow slowly over time." They would not take that risk.
Yeah.
But,
well, remember you're talking to a guy. Even when I got the money, I was Ubering for 2.5 years and living in a 2-bedroom condo.
Right.
And people looked at me going, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I probably should move." But I was like too busy traveling the world at the time. So I definitely looked at it from a different angle. That it isn't amassing all these materialistic items, but it was experiencing life, I think.
I love that. So Naveen, going back to the M&A playbook question for a moment, you answered it brilliantly. People, slow burn over 12 years. Let's say I'm somebody, I didn't do that. I'm sitting here, now I'm looking to exit. What would be 3 to 5 tips that you'd say, these are the things you need to start thinking about now? And actually, let me rephrase that question. Let's assume that I have been in business and I'm looking to exit in, say, 3 to 5 years. What should I be thinking about right now?
So I think a lot of times you're told and coached, especially if you go through your MBA, what's your business plan? What's your exit strategy? What's your 1, 3, 5 year goals? I think what's fascinating in GovCon and probably other industries is there's a hidden checklist and an algorithm that nobody wants you to know.
Interesting.
And it's the companies that want to buy you. It's a wish list. It's how they do their due diligence. And you have a whole slew of people, M&A brokers and advisors and legal firms. There's a whole other networking ecosystem of different providers that are saying, we want a piece of this pie, so we're not going to give you all the pieces, but ultimately this is what companies are looking for when they're going to buy you. So to me, I just sat there and I said, I'm going to go just meet with all of them because they meet for free. I would actually joke with them. I'm like, I'm trying to get some free advice from you. So I would just extract all of that. And I essentially said, let me just map out what that wish list, checklist, and algorithm is to drive enterprise value. And then kind of get organized to say, where do I stand at this juncture of my company? Gut check. Let me not drink the Kool-Aid. Where am I strong? Where do I suck? And let me start to think about how to close those gaps, how to set some goals to drive that value iteratively and have that visible real time as I go through this, and then cascade it down to key leaders and managers and incentivize them that they understand the same goals. So that's been something that we've worked really hard to do, because then what ends up happening is everyone's driving towards the same mission, vision, and goals, because they know this is what the successful outcome is.
Right.
And it's quantifiable. quantified by the data.
Yes.
And so it's a data-driven decision making to the exit strategy of the algorithm that you're not supposed to know, but we've been able to crack and kind of get some guidance to put that in place. So I think if you reverse engineer it,
begin with the end in mind. We always say.
And I think a lot of times we as entrepreneurs go, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
No, stop, pause. What do they want you to be? And think through that, and then find your in between of how do you get there. So I think that's one of the most critical factors of success.
My last question for you, Naveen, what happens after we hit our goals, in your opinion?
Well, I think that's a question of, do we ever stop?
Do we hit our goals because we keep pushing it further and further, higher and higher?
I mean, don't we have New Year's goals every year, right? I mean, I think we keep changing and resetting what our goals are, whether they're career motivated. A lot of people it's fitness, looking at all of the things. Some people it's travel, So I think that you look at your goals and you kind of keep reinventing them and coming up with new goals that you want to achieve. So I don't think goals are something you ever stop seeking. I think if you do, and I tie it back to a lot of entrepreneurs selling their company, they are so bored.
Yes.
They're like, man, I can't play any more golf. I really,
I can't sit on the beach anymore.
I don't want to be with my significant other 40 hours a week. Like they're dying out there, and they're going, put me back in. Give me the stress and the adversity of this. But I think you have to keep finding new goals and challenges, and it's part of being alive and having fun with life. So keep finding new goals. So, like maybe learn during COVID. I was like, I'm gonna pick up a guitar and try to learn how to play the guitar.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that good. I'm not gonna whip out a guitar now and start playing.
Let's get a guitar out here for a minute.
Yeah. Or I was like, let me try to remember Spanish again.
Yeah.
So me and my daughter got on Duolingo, and we're both like learning Spanish together again.
That is so cool.
So I think you gotta. I think that was one of the great things that came out of being at home again, is finding other hobbies and tying some goals to that. So I think that really makes life a lot worth living if you're
richer.
Able to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Man, that's the hustle, isn't it?
That's the hustle.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely.
Fist bump. Boom.
Thanks for having me.
You got
Reba
it.
Magic.
Reba Magic. Right here, folks.